Hey everybody, welcome back to TechOdyssey. So I'm here today with my full review of the Oppo Find X5. This guy, right here. So it might look a lot like a couple other phones that have come out in the last couple of years, and that's because it's under the same umbrella as this BBK group. They make Oppo, they make OnePlus, they make Realme. So a lot of their phones look kind of similar. This one right here though, Oppo is kind of their main brand, and it's a really nice phone. There are two different models. There's the Find X5, which is what I have, which is rocking the Snapdragon 888. Then they have the Pro model, which has a ceramic coating on it on the back, and it has the new Snapdragon 8 Generation 1. This one here, though, a lot of very similar things in it, though, and at a reduced cost. So that might interest some people. A Snapdragon 888 processor, especially one that's been more fine-tuned, and this one actually has a separate neural processing unit, and it was cool because they actually sent it to me, too. Ta-da! This right here. This tiny little processing chip is inside of the phone. So a lot of these phones, they do a lot of algorithmic processing, a lot of post-processing, a lot of things that happen to the image. Like you take a picture and then sometimes on phones it might look a little blurry and then bam, it snaps to and it looks really good. Well, that's because the computer, the processor in your phone is working some magic and making it look really nice. Well, this one not only does that, but it has a separate chip inside of there to help out, which allows you to do pretty good quality 4K at low light. You get better low light quality photos. You get better overall photos. So that's what that's for. That is specifically designed to give the AI a boost and give you better photos. I think it kind of works. Now, it doesn't have the most amazing pictures in the world when it comes to the selfie camera, just because, well, it's got a 32 megapixel camera that they didn't quite put the same amount of emphasis as on the back. On the back, you've got two 50 megapixel cameras. You have a 50 megapixel primary shooter, a 50 megapixel ultra wide, and a 13 megapixel telephoto. So you've got everything on the back that you need to take good quality photos. And then on the front, you have the 32 megapixel selfie camera up in the window in the top corner. And the one limitation there you're going to find is 1080p video at 30 frames per second. No 60 frames per second, no 4K. I don't really understand it because on the back you can do 4K at 60 frames per second and you can even do 10-bit video. So a lot of emphasis has been put on the back cameras, the neural processing unit. It's also got the Hasselblad cooperation for the color science stuff. The color science is pretty good for the most part, and it even has macro mode. So if you get up close with the camera, it'll flip over and it'll switch to macro mode. You can get some shots that way too. So very versatile phone. Lots of other stuff underneath the hood. We've talked a lot about kind of where we're at with the camera department and the video department and those capabilities. Again, Snapdragon 888, last year's flagship processor. That helps keep the price down a little bit. It did warm up a little bit. If you do some intensive gaming, you shoot some 4K video for a prolonged period of time, it'll get warm, but it didn't shut down on me. So I do think that there's an improvement there over the OnePlus 9 and 9 Pro last year that had a lot of heat issues. This one, it seems to be better. And also, I think some of that has to do with some of the processing being offloaded to that neural processing unit. That helps take up and shoulder some of that load as well. So definitely an improvement in that department over last year. Also, you can get it in two different models, 8 gigs of RAM or 12 gigs of RAM. When it comes to the storage capacity, you can get 128 or you can get 256. There's no 512 model, no expandable storage. That's also kind of a thing that irks me, especially when you're talking about shooting 4K 60 frames per second, 10-bit video. Yeah, it would be really nice if you had the ability to put extra storage or get higher storage options. You get two options, 128 or 256. 4,800 milliamp battery though, it does perfectly fine. It gets you all the way through the day, and you can get it recharged quick, fast, and in a hurry because you can use up to 80 watts charging power on here. 80 watts. That means you're getting the entire phone charged in just over 30 minutes, I believe is the time frame. And you even get 30-watt wireless charging and 10-watt reverse wireless charging. So you can recharge other devices at the same speed that some actual phones charge normally wirelessly. So that's a pretty big deal as well. It also supports power delivery, so that helps you out with your charging. And you've got NFC, so you can use your wireless contactless payment methods. And you've got Bluetooth in here, so you can connect to your favorite earbuds, favorite headphones via Bluetooth, even though there is no headphone jack. Not on the top, not on the bottom, not anywhere. No headphone jack, so you're missing out there. But again, Bluetooth really is kind of the majority of how people listen to their music now. So I don't have a lot of heartburn that there's no headphone jack, but it's just one of those things in 2022. It's something less and less people complain about each iteration. No IP68 dust and water resistance, but if you do take out the SIM tray, you can find that it's got a seal around it that helps keep that sealed up. One of the things with these phones is I believe it does have a pretty decent rating for water and dust protection, but they don't pay for that certification, especially since it's not officially listed here in the US. So they're not as concerned about that apparently, and they're not paying the extra money to get that certification. Whether it might be actually pretty decent when it comes to water resistance, I don't know to that extent, but they did at least put some effort into it to seal some things up. So that's pretty common for phones around this price and caliber. 6.55-inch display. And you've got a built-in fingerprint sensor under the screen, which works pretty darn well. Optical fingerprint sensor. You also have facial recognition technology, so you can scan your face and you're covered that way. So this phone is very well rounded, very well loaded out, beautiful screen, HDR10+. It's got a LTPO2 screen on it. So what that means is it has a variable refresh rate screen. That means that it can throttle the refresh rate up or down depending on what you're doing, and saves on the battery. So when you're looking at a still image like this, it's going to have a low refresh rate. That means the screen is not cycling as fast. That keeps your battery life lasting longer. If you do something like watch a video, play a video game, you want to do some social media scrolling on your phone and do some stuff, it makes it look nice and smooth because it refreshes the screen so many times in 1 second, up to 120. That's a really nice thing. Beautiful color representation, nice contrast, over 1,000 nits brightness. It's basically got everything you could ask for in a flagship level phone at a reduced price. You're not going to pay as much for this as you are with a Find X Pro. Again, there is some trade-offs. You're not getting the Snapdragon 8 Generation 1, but a lot of people may not care about that. You may not be getting the ceramic back, but you're getting Gorilla Glass Victus on the front all the same, and it's also glass on the back. And you also get this nice soft coat finish on here too. It doesn't pick up grease or oils or fingerprints, none of that stuff. So you're covered there. Of course, keep the case on it because that'll keep you from getting it scratched up. And this one works out perfectly fine. It comes with one in the case. It has the screen protector already installed on it, ready to go straight out of the box. So I've been enjoying using it. I think it brings some nice qualities to it. It does have 5G. I'm not getting 5G here in the US though. This is not the primary market for it. You can't use it on AT&T, and you only get 4G LTE here in the States when it comes to T-Mobile. Maybe that's different in other markets. Maybe it's different with different carriers, but using T-Mobile here in Texas, where I'm at, I'm only getting 4G on here. So this is the global unit. It is capable of 5G. That's going to depend on your market, where you're at, your carrier, and different things like that. So I can't guarantee it's going to work in your area with 5G, but it does have 5G. It's very capable of it. But here in the States, I think you're not going to be able to get that. So when it comes to using the phone itself and the cameras, I think they did a pretty good job. Again, I do have my question marks out there with the selfie camera. It doesn't like light. That's weird. Let me rephrase that. If there's a lot of light, the HDR has issues, especially when it's on auto HDR. It kind of flickers and tries to change. So if you move the camera at all, or you're standing and there's some bright light, it might kind of flicker and bounce around for a second. Either turn HDR on or turn it off. If you have it in auto on the selfie camera, it seems to have problems with that. So again, the selfie camera, not the best in the world. When it comes to the primary camera though, pretty good stuff. You get the regular camera shot, you get up to 20 times digital zoom if you zoom in, you get the 13 megapixel telephoto camera on the back, you get the 50 megapixel primary and ultra wide, lots of detail, lots of color. It's taking in a lot of information there. So it's great, especially in low light. I took some low light photos and I was very, very, very impressed with that. So this handles low light excellently. And then of course you get the 4K video, 60 frames per second on the back. You get macro mode for taking pictures. This is a very well-rounded camera setup on the back, and I think that they did a great job there. And also having that dedicated neural processor unit really helps out. You got the Hasselblad cooperation for the color science. I think that they put a lot. They threw a whole lot at this phone in the camera department to try and really make a robust camera experience. And I think in a lot of ways it works, especially if you get a lot of light. Anytime you have a lot of light, you're going to get good photos. So if you're interested in this one, if you want a camera a phone that has good cameras and takes good pictures, then this is definitely up your alley. Now, it's not always consistent. I've had some times where I've taken some photos, especially on macro mode. Macro mode is good, but it's not great. And I've had some phones that do great macro mode, like the iPhone 13 Pro, Pro Max, the epitome of macro mode photography. It's very, very good. This one, it's good, but it's just not great. And sometimes it can be hit or miss, especially depending on the angle, the lighting, how close you get. if you have a lot of light outside, like a lot of yellow light, a lot of sunlight, it seems not to handle things as well as it does in a controlled environment. So I'll throw that out there. But macro mode, it's there. Definitely not the apex of photography with this phone, but the primary camera, the ultra wide, and the telephoto, pretty darn good. Overall, I like it. I've been happy with it. It's very snappy, very responsive, very powerful. It's been a nice first impression with using an Oppo phone. I'm very glad that they sent this out to me so I could test it out. Very premium, very nice looking, and if you're interested in picking one up, it's a good option out there, especially for a lot of people outside the US. Here in the States, we get our Samsungs, we get our iPhones, we get Google, we get very, very few phones, but if you're overseas, you're international, you get a lot of stuff. You get access to Xiaomi, Poco, Oppo, Redmi. There's a lot of different options. So Oppo, or Oppo, however you want to pronounce it, this right there, it competes. You get good quality power and performance, and it's a really beautiful phone. I've really been enjoying using it. The haptic feedback on here is really nice. It's enjoyable to type on. One thing that's cool about Android 12, also with Color OS, you can change the vibration pattern on here for when you're typing. So there's two different modes, and you can have it where it's more short and succinct, or you can have it where it's a more kind of a gentle vibration algorithm that it uses when you're using the phone and interacting with it and typing. So I like that. I like the way it's set up. A lot more customization than ever, and it's been a really enjoyable experience. It's running Oppo's Color OS, running Android 12, so you're covered there, and it's actually nice. It's been kind of refreshing. I'd never used Color OS before. I had been familiar with Oxygen OS on the OnePlus phones, so switching over and using this, and now of course Oxygen OS on the OnePlus phones is very much like this. I actually kind of like the way it works. I haven't really had a whole lot of bugs. I haven't really had any problems. It's been a nice fluid experience, so it's been pretty good for me. So that's all I've got on this video. If you have any questions or comments, please head down to the comment section and I will get back with you. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.